We're in the middle of fucking nowhere.
I don't know, man. All we can do is...
Have you ever wondered about the history of Cheech and Chong? In the pantheon of comedy duos, few names blaze as brightly or as hazily as Cheech and Chong. Synonymous with pot-fueled antics, outrageous characters, and countercultural chaos, Richard Cheech Marin and Tommy Chong sparked a movement that changed the face of comedy in the 1970s and 80s. But their impact goes far beyond bong jokes and stoner stereotypes. They are icons of a generation, trailblazers who turned taboo into gold and gave the countercultural a mic, a camera, and a bag of giggles. Welcome to History Wonder. Let's roll it back to the late 1960s, an era of peace signs, lava lamps, and lots of smoke. Tommy Chong, a Canadian musician and club owner, was managing a soul group called Bobby Taylor and the Vancouvers, a group that once featured a young Michael Jackson as an opener. Chong had dipped his toes into music and the nightclub scene, but his true calling was still clouded in mystery, literally. Enter Richard Cheech Marin, a Mexican-American from Los Angeles who had fled to Canada to avoid the Vietnam War draft. A friend introduced the two in Vancouver in 1969, and the chemistry was instant. Cheech was fast-talking, witty, and expressive. Chong was mellow, dry, and unpredictable. Together, they were comedy gold and waiting to be mined. At first, they performed improv sketches in small clubs, poking fun at the hippies, politics, and ethnic stereotypes. But it was their shared love for cannabis culture that truly lit the fuse. Their routines revolved around exaggerated stoner characters, wild adventures, and side-splitting misunderstandings, all fueled by a healthy dose of Mary Jane. Before they took over the silver screen, Cheech and Chong dominated the world of comedy albums. Their self-titled debut in 1971 introduced audiences to the now legendary Dave's Not Here routine, a simple premise where Chong plays a guy named Dave trying to get into a house while Cheech, on the other side of the door, just can't get it through his baked brain that Dave is actually the guy on the outside. It was absurd, minimal, and genius. Their albums became cult classics, earning Grammy nominations and mainstream success. Albums like Big Bamboo in 1972 and Los Cochinos in 1973 weren't just funny, they were cultural time capsules. They featured reoccurring characters, surreal scenarios, and a rich blend of music and sketch comedy. These weren't just jokes, they were fully realized comic universes. And yes, they did win a Grammy for Best Comedy Album in 1974. By 1978, Cheech and Chong were ready for the big leagues, Hollywood. Enter Up in Smoke, their debut feature film and a cinematic game-changer. Directed by Lou Adler, the film followed Pedro, Cheech, and Man, Chong, two lovable stoners who accidentally drive a van made entirely of marijuana from Mexico to Los Angeles. Along the way, they evade clueless cops, jam out at a punk rock battle of the bands, and inhale enough smoke to fog up a Zeppelin. Up in Smoke was made for a modest $2 million and went to gross over $100 million. Critics were mixed, but fans were highly enthusiastic. The movie was rough around the edges, but its authenticity was undeniable. It captured the countercultural spirit in a way that felt both ridiculous and real. It was the first major stoner comedy, paving the way for films like Half-Baked, Pineapple Express, and Harold and Kumar decades later. The success of Up in Smoke sparked a series of Cheech and Chong films in the 1980s. Cheech and Chong's next movie, 1980, More Misadventures, Aliens, and Rock and Roll. Nice Dreams in 1981. The duo sells ice cream laced with weed. Things Are Tough All Over in 1982. They play multiple roles in a globe-trotting farce. Still Smokin' in 1983. A wild mix of live performances and sketches. Cheech and Chong's The Corsican Brothers in 1984, a surreal period piece spoofing swashbuckling epics. Each film had its moments of brilliance, slapstick, and satire. While critics often rolled their eyes, audiences kept rolling papers. Their brand of comedy wasn't about polish, it was about personality, and personality they had in spades. They were the stoned Laurel and Hardy, the hazy Abbott and Costello. Cheech's quick wit and Chong's dreamy-eyed absurdism made them the perfect comedic yin and yang. But behind the laughs, tensions were simmering. By the mid-1980s, the Cheech and Chong magic was starting to wear thin. Creative disagreements, particularly over the direction of their films, led to a breakup. Cheech wanted to explore more mainstream roles and stretch his acting chops, while Chong was more comfortable staying in the cannabis-colored lanes. In 1985, the duo split. Fans were heartbroken, but both men embarked on fascinating solo journeys. Cheech Marin became a surprisingly versatile actor. He landed roles in Born in East LA, which he wrote and directed, Tin Cup, Desperado, and became a Disney darling as the voice of Banzai in The Lion King and Ramon in Cars. He also became a respected Chicano art collector and advocate, curating exhibitions across the U.S. Tommy Chong stayed closer to his roots. He had a reoccurring role on That 70s Show as the perpetually baked Leo and became a prominent voice in cannabis advocacy. However, in 2003, he was caught in a federal sting operation dubbed Operation Pipe Dreams and sentenced to 9 months in federal prison for selling glass bongs online. The irony was thicker than a hot boxed van. After 2 decades apart, Cheech and Chong surprised fans with a reunion tour in 2008. Cheech and Chong Light Up America brought the duo back to their roots, live comedy. The chemistry was still there, the timing was tight, and the crowd still extremely chill. They followed it with more tours, animated films, and even a stint on Dancing with the Stars, with Tommy, of course. Age hadn't dulled their edge, and it only added layers. They were elder statesmen of the stoner world, and their commentary on cannabis culture took on a more reflective, activist tone. It's easy to dismiss Cheech and Chong as just pot comics, but that's like saying the Beatles were just mop-haired musicians. Their influence on comedy, pop culture, and even civil rights is profound, such as cannabis normalization. Long before legalization became a serious political issue, Cheech and Chong were humanizing the cannabis user. They weren't drug addicts or criminals, they were your goofy neighbors, your bandmates, your cousins. They made the stoner a comic archetype with heart and humor. They also helped with Latino and Asian representation. Cheech Marin's presence as a Chicano comic and Tommy Chong's biracial background, Chinese-Canadian, and Scots-Irish, brought much-needed diversity to mainstream comedy. And endurance. Their comedy has transcended generations. Millennials and Gen Zs are discovering them through streaming, memes, and retro merch. Their style, characters, and even catchphrases, "Dave's not in here, man," remain in the zeitgeist. Today, Cheech and Chong are more than just comedians. They're cultural historians of the counterculture. They've shown up in everything from music videos and award shows to cannabis brands and NFT drops. They've embraced the digital age without sacrificing their analog charm. Cheech continues to be an ambassador for Chicano culture and art. Chong remains a fierce advocate for cannabis reform and holistic wellness. They are both still touring, still joking, and still riding that long, strange trip. In a world where comedy is often scrutinized, sanitized, or sliced into sound bites, Cheech and Chong's unfiltered, unhinged, and undeniably hilarious legacy stands tall. And slightly wobbly. They were rebels with a cause, to make people laugh, think, and maybe relax a little bit. They didn't just light up joints, they lit up conversations. They didn't just spoof stoners, they gave them a soul. And they didn't just ride the wave of change, they helped build it, one toke at a time. So here's to Cheech and Chong, the high priests of humor, the patron saints of the puff, and the comedy duo who turned a cloud of smoke into a career that's still, to this day, on fire. Thanks for watching. What topics in history have you wondered about? Comment below and let us know what videos you would like to see. And be sure to like and subscribe.